Hey everyone, Emily, Mile High Money Mama here. And I wanted to do a video about a conversation I had with one of my gals recently that was asking about how you determine what your dollar amount is that you need to save to retire early. And that's a pretty common question I get, and it's really actually quite simple. So all you need to do is figure out what your annual expenses are. So mortgage, what your mortgage payment is if you still have a mortgage, and then insurance, so your mortgage insurance, your car insurance if you have life insurance, and health insurance if you're paying that on your own. And then also what your living expenses are. So your day-to-day stuff, such as your groceries, if you go out to eat, which you should only be doing if you're debt-free, and as well as your toiletries, deodorant, makeup, perfume, toilet paper, paper towels, cleaning supplies, the stuff that you need to use pretty much every day. And then when you figure that number out, usually, that's in the $40,000 to $60,000 range, then you can figure out how much money you need to have saved so that the dividends or the return that you are receiving on your investments is that number. And so the concept is essentially you need to save, for example, and this is just a rough example, it's not exact. So say that number is $700,000, and then there's an inflection point where at that dollar amount, your return on that investment starts being your living expense. So you figure out what amount that is in terms of you invest all that money, and then if it's in the market, you can expect an average on the S&P is 5 to 7%. That's a historical average. Obviously, recently we've had much higher returns in like the 15 to 20% range. That's not normal, so don't expect that. You do the math based on the 5 to 7%. 5 being your conservative number, 7 being your aggressive number, and you want to stick in that range because of inflation is usually between 3 and 5%. So you would say, if I have $750,000 and it's making 7 or 5% interest or 7% interest, then the returns on that will be $50,000. So the point at which that happens is the point at which you can retire. And a lot of times that's much faster than you think. You don't need $2 million to retire because you're not going to liquidate that $2 million. All you're going to do is live off of the returns on that investment. So it's the $700,000 number. And then when you start living on that, your principal stays the same. You don't ever want to dip into your principal. Obviously, there might be a year where something happens, but generally speaking, you're not dipping into that. So that principal will continue to make that $50,000 every year in perpetuity. And if you take less than that 50, say you only need 40, or you do a side business that is your passion. So maybe you're making things on Etsy and you're selling it for 10,000. Maybe you're doing some coaching of your own and you're making a small amount of money. That actually reduces the amount that you're going to be withdrawing for your annual expenses, and then leaves more principal in there to grow even more. So the objective is to find that sweet spot where you can stop working your 9 to 5 that you saved up for, but then also if you're able to reduce or minimize that annual spending as much as possible, or offset it with additional income of some kind, that is what your passion is. That's the concept of the FIRE, financial independence, retire early. So it's not that you're doing nothing, it's that you're no longer a part of the rat race and required to earn that $70,000 a year to pay for everything. So, the 50 to live and the 20 to save. So that inflection point is when it happens. And if you want to jump over to my website, there's some really helpful spreadsheets and blog posts I have. You can also sign up for a coaching call where we can break that down and figure out what that exact number is. Going through, we can set up a direct budget, we can set up a monthly budget, we can set up an annual budget, whatever you need to be able to get the tools in front of you so you can see practical numbers and how to do it. But the one takeaway that I wanted everyone to hear is that that number is a lot less than you think it is, because you are not 65 doing nothing and pulling everything all the time out of the principal. You are trying to find the the sweet spot where you are making the money off the dividends, but leaving your principal alone so it will continue to make money in perpetuity. And then when you are absolutely done doing nothing, you can still live off that 50 grand. You do not want to be drawing out of that until it's absolutely necessary on a consistent basis. And really, you can essentially, your money can outlive you as well. So that's just a really, really quick synopsis, really simple. And I hope that's helpful for you. Again, if you want any other more direct conversation with me, you can go ahead and book a call, milehighmoneymama.com. And I look forward to talking to you guys again soon. Hope this helps.